Welcome back to the Laws That Matter, everyone. I'm Carissa Kranz. Thank you for joining us for another exciting week here. We have some great conversations and food for thought. So without further ado, I want to bring everyone up on screen all at once. We have some unreal conversations that are going to happen today with Jenny Goldfarb from Unreal Deli. We have the Faithful Vegan. We have Gigi, my true self. And we have myself, a vegan from birth. And let's not forget, we also have our co-host here. This is Pumpkin. And Pumpkin is newly a vegan dog. She's been a vegan dog for a month since I've gotten her. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm so delighted to have you here. So I was very touched last show when Sersie, you reached out to me and were thrilled with the subject matter and topic and wanted to discuss more. So I just want to jump right into you. Why don't you tell us exactly who you are, what you do, and how our topic of spiritual food for thought is aligned with your entire platform?
Yeah. Well, my name is Sersie Blue, and I'm AKA the Faithful Vegan. And I came into this journey with the platform is basically connecting food and faith. And my personal story is kind of what brought me to this place where I was able to connect the dots between how our spirituality and how we live out our values in terms of what we eat and how we live. And so I'll just give you a little quick short version of my story. Several years back, my mother has high blood pressure. My grandmother has high blood pressure. And so when I was in my last trimester of my pregnancy, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And so the doctor put me on medication. And at the time, I didn't think about it as anything. A lot of the statistics show that if you're African American, you're more likely to have high blood pressure during pregnancy. And what you know about that is that when you have high blood pressure, you're more likely to have complications before, after, and during your pregnancy. And so I went through a pregnancy. I had a tragic event where my son had lost oxygen to his brain. And so when he was born, for about a year, we had to have really 24-hour care, just really taking care of him because he wasn't able to really suction and eat on his own. And tragically, he passed away at the age of 1. And so at that point, rock bottom, you could imagine, emotionally, spiritually, medicating with food, just at the worst place. And a friend of mine just out of the blue.
How long ago was this? I just want to back up a second. How long ago?
This was 2009. This was 2009. He was born in 2010, and he passed away in 2011. So he lived for exactly 1 year. And so a friend of mine called me. Maybe she saw the state that I was in, and she said to me, let's do a Daniel fast. And I was like, okay. I wasn't really sure why.
So I'm glad you're giving us some background right now, because I was reading about that, and I want you guys to talk about that. And now I have context. I did not understand where that name and everything came from. So that's pretty phenomenal. So you took a real heartbreaking story and made an entire life purpose out of it.
Exactly. And I remember someone said that, God will take your purpose or your pain into purpose. And so here I am. I'm doing this Daniel fast.
That gave me the goosebumps.
Yeah. And so for those of you who are not familiar, the Daniel fast pretty much is a whole food plant-based diet, and it's void of any preservatives, sugars, anything that's chemically based. And you combine that with meditation, prayer, and your faith. And so I went into the fast and I did it for 30 days. And it was almost as if it was a miracle, because in that 30 days, I had mental and spiritual clarity. I felt like I could hear God's voice very clearly. I lost weight. I had emotional stability.
How long into the fast did it take you? Like, how many days into it? Did it take the full 30 days? Did it take 5 days?
It was about a blur, but I would say maybe in a 3-week mark, things begin to shift. And by the day 30, it was almost like something flipped, a switch flipped. And my blood pressure was reversed. I lost weight, spiritual, mental clarity. And so at that point, a light bulb went off because I was wondering, how could this be? Because I was practicing my faith in the trauma. I was, and it was just this intersection and fusing
Mhm.
of food and faith. And so I went on this journey of connecting all of the dots, because once that light bulb and you're open spiritually at that point, you start following the breadcrumbs. And so now you're realizing, wait a minute, my food affects my
I like
emotionality.
all
My
the
emotionality,
innuendos here. You start following the breadcrumbs. That's pretty bright of
right?
you.
You know, but and so all of those things, you're realizing they're all interconnected and they're flowing in through and out of each other. And so
Mhm,
because of that, I realized, wait a minute,
mhm.
there's something that I missed along the way with how I eat and how that affects every other aspect of my life. And so I went on this journey, and this is how the Faithful Vegan and my Eat Your Best Life podcast was birthed, and eventually this Daniel Fast program. And then you widened your values and you realize, wait a minute, it's bigger than just your plate. It's not only how you treat yourself, but how you treat the environment and how you treat the animals. And it became this
Well,
spiritual
yeah, and
experience.
and that's the thing. When you realize the interconnectedness of it all, the environment, your health, the
Right,
animals, that's when you've made the spiritual connection. That's when you've elevated
right.
your food to your table to be part of your faith. I like what I came up with
Yeah.
here: farm to table or farm to faith.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
um,
yes. That was
so,
wonderful.
yeah, that came to me today, maybe spiritual inspiration. So, no, I was very touched by
Mhm,
your story, and thank you so much for
mhm.
contacting me after last show. And what is your connection with Gigi Carter from My True Self? It seems like you guys are connected together and doing things.
Yeah, so how we became connected is she did an interview with me on the Daniel fast, and that came out in my story. And so we both had this inspiration, or you could say an unction from God, we would say, that this Daniel fast, there was something there. And so a lot of times churches do Daniel fast in the beginning of the year, and they might do it for a few weeks and then they just forget about it. And I felt from my experience that this was a bridge to healthy living. And so we combined together the faith aspect. Gigi's a nutritionist, and we put together a program that combines, not only just are you learning the meditation and the spirituality part, but you're learning what the food is actually doing to your body and all the other elements that go with it. And so we developed this program to introduce this to people so that they could too experience that fuse of that spiritual connection with your food, and hopefully that would birth the journey for them as it did for me. And so that's how we connected. And we have a 4-day challenge that's coming up August 17th, and we're having people come into that challenge just to get a taste of what the program would look like. And so now we
So
both
it's
connected on that
a
to share that.
a 4-day challenge to
Yeah,
the actual 30-day fast challenge.
right,
Okay.
right.
All right. So let
Yes.
me since we have Gigi with us, let's bring her on. Hi, Gigi. Thank you for joining us. Pleasure
Hi,
to
thank
have
you for
you.
having me. Thank you so much
So,
for having me.
yeah, so this is a lovely story on how you guys connected and how you took some pain and suffering into a life purpose, and you guys are making a difference. How many people have you signed up for this challenge or fasts so far? How many people have
Yeah,
tried this?
yeah, so far we have about 25-ish people signed up for the 4-day challenge, and we're putting out some ads, some Facebook ads and Instagram ads to hopefully get some more people signed up, but we're really excited to be offering this.
Yeah, and I guess you guys built the program together, right?
Right, right. Yeah, my story is a little bit different than Cersei's in that I tell people I went vegetarian for health reasons, but I went vegan more for animal rights reasons.
I'm the
And
exact same, by the way.
yeah, I struggled with some health challenges when I was in my mid to late 30s, and so I kind of transitioned to a vegetarian diet. And then when I learned about the cruelty to animals and the environment, as well as just the health benefits of a whole food plant-based diet, I made the switch very, very quickly. So yeah, so when Cersei and I connected, we just saw there was a lot of synergy between the two of us and kind of the angle that we were coming from to be able to partner, collaborate, and create this Daniel fast. And we're really hoping, to help out there who are struggling either with health issues or, some spiritual connectedness with, our food and the interconnection between the health of our bodies, the health of the planet, the health of, and the well-being of animals. We're really hoping to make a difference with this.
Yeah. And how long ago was this program actually launched, the Daniel Fast?
Just recently, actually. I think it was, in July. So it's very new.
Okay. All right. And how is it different than other vegan fast challenges that exist out there? I know, I mean, I've had other people on the show. They've told me about they have their challenges or their, like I had from A Prayer for Compassion, they had a challenge that they challenged everyone to at the end. How is this different? And I'm not saying that theirs is even a fast. I'm not sure what theirs is, but how is this program different than the other ones out there?
Yeah, I'll take that. I'm not familiar with all the different programs, but the ones that I am familiar with do just focus on either the food part or just focus on the spirituality part of it. And so what I love about what we're doing is we're really kind of combining the two together into one program.
Mm-hmm. It's very important that people really make the connection between the food on their plate and the karmic consequences that they might feel after they eat the food. I know, Sersie, you were saying that there was a time in your life I had read where you felt you hit rock bottom and it was because of the food and you didn't even really realize the connection with the food. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I was born and raised vegan. So for me, I never really had the shift. I never had the transition of feeling like, okay, one day I'm eating meat. Yeah. This is how I feel. And then I went on this 30-day fast from meat. And now this is how I feel. And sometimes I think in life, you need the contrast. So why don't you tell us about that? Like, what is it that people need to hear or feel to say, you know what? I'm veg curious. I want to try this.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of it is, and you don't notice it. And this is why it's so important to kind of step away for a moment and give yourself that opportunity to eat a certain way so that you could actually feel the difference. And you don't even know it. It's like you're mindlessly eating. They have a concept they call mindlessly eating, but I think it goes twofold because you could be mindlessly eating just watching TV. But I also think we're mindlessly eating because we're so disconnected from our plates. I know that from when I used to visit my grandmother in Jamaica years ago, and she would farm and they would barter different fruits and vegetables, and we knew exactly where the food was coming from. We know, oh, Uncle so-and-so is milding those yams and this, that, and the other. But right now we're in such a disconnection with our plate. We don't even know where the food comes from. We don't know. And I always say, I moved from Toronto to the South, and when I came here, everyone says, and we bless that we're not even really familiar if it's really being blessed in the way that we would want it to. And so this is why, for me, I think it's so important that people just give it a chance and bring faith to their kitchen table, because you want to know, where did your food come from? You want to know, was there any suffering that occurred for this plate? You want to know all of those elements that come into your plate, because it affects you spiritually. And when you bring faith to your kitchen table, what you're doing is that you're aligning your values that you have, because I had the values of compassion. I had the values of love, but I didn't connect it to the food. And once I was able to make that crossover, there was a synergy in my life that was able to happen.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's common, though. I think what you're saying is where a lot of people are. I think very few people are out there able to go and hunt and kill the food themselves and eat it. I think most people are good at heart, or might be vegan of heart, and are compassionate and are empathetic and want to do better in this world. And they just are able to disconnect because they were born and raised in a culture where it's just so normalized to eat those things on your plate, not realize that it's a being and not a thing. And if we're able to get to the audience of of the masses who are open to the conversation of what you're saying you went through, I think there could be a major evolution towards an enlightenment shift as a human race. If we could just realize that, you know what, I want to be spiritual. I am spiritual. I believe in meditation. I go to yoga. I believe in random acts of kindness. I am a religious person because I believe that love thy neighbor like thyself. You know, how do you get to those people? I know that you said you do some faith-based advocacy and that the church is a point of social change and that you really are trying to target the church. How is that going?
Right. Well, that's been going well. It's a progress, but I think people are so open to it now. I think right now that we're in this current pandemic, I think a lot of people are more receptive, you know, because we're dealing with COVID-19. You're looking at higher rates of, even when you look at the Black church, for example, higher rates of people that are going to be that are dying of COVID-19 for various reasons, health disparities, you know, chronic conditions, all of that. And so I think people are a little more open now because now you could say, well, listen, there's a way to pinpoint that these pandemics are tied to the way we eat. And I think people are more open now to be more stewards. And so what I do when I go to churches and speak about that is allowing them to realize that we're stewards of not only ourselves, we're stewards of our planet, we're stewards of our animals, we're stewards of everything. And part of our spiritual unfolding is to honor that. And I think people are more open to it. Some people, they're going to be more open when you talk about the fact that we need for our health. We're animals too. And so what we put in our body, if we are going to accomplish the mission that God put us here on earth, we have to be able to honor our bodies to take us down that journey in the first place. And I think it trickles on to every other area. And so,
it really does. And I think sometimes being able to know what your purpose is in life and to feel it come through you with a moment of clarity, sometimes we really need to clear. That's why whether you're vegan or not, there are fasts in religion where they are having you fast from all food and just have water in order to clear your mind and clear your body so you are in a position to receive divine intervention, divine information. And when you have a plant-based diet and are vegan, you are more, and that's not to say that a vegan diet, you can't, you know, put a bunch of sugar and bad things in you. You can. But I think generally speaking, a vegan plant-based diet, you are more open to receive, to be in clarity of thought, to find your purpose and passion on this planet, because we are a steward of this planet, like you said, and we are supposed to be able to take care of our planet and ourselves. So it would be fabulous if you can get to the pastors at these churches and get them to start preaching the message that you're advocating for, without being in the position at the church that the preacher, the priest, or the, you know, whoever's giving the sermon every day. How do you get, those are the people we need to get to, because those are the people that people listen to if they're in the church environment. Now there's a whole bunch of other people who are spiritual, who are in the new age spirituality environment, who would also be equally open to this stuff if spoken to properly.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we're offering the 4-day challenge, because the 4-day challenge is it's a short enough time frame for people to feel like, oh, I can do anything for 4 days, but also enough time for them to start to feel the benefits of eating that whole food plant-based diet. And so we're hoping that through the 4-day challenge, it will help people to become less afraid to not eat meat, and be open to signing up for that 30-day challenge, and then ultimately moving them to a whole food plant-based lifestyle.
I think that's like a great segue to invite our other guest on. You said for them to not be afraid to not eat meat. And our other guest that we have today is Jenny Goldfarb from Unreal Deli. Let me, you've been on Shark Tank. Let me remove these banners so we can see you better here. Sorry, give me 1 second. I want everyone to see you talk. So, Jenny, Let's see. There we go. Okay, here. Now we can all talk. So Jenny, Unreal Deli, been on Shark Tank. You make meat out of plant-based protein for people who are used to eating meat and are probably afraid to give it up. So tell us about yourself and how can you help them with their 4-day challenge, help people get over their fear of giving up meat?
For sure. So everything you ladies, Sersie, Gigi, have spoken about totally resonated. In fact, just this past week, I know Carissa and I both share a Jewish lineage. There was a fast day in the Jewish holiday that I participated in on Thursday of this past week, with which is actually a dry fast, no food or water. And apparently it takes like 4 days of wet fasting to equal one dry fast day. But and for those of us who are in the know with veganism, with this whole compassion movement of not eating animals, caring about one another, it's more than just, a separate little Jewish holiday, but it actually has very big global implications. So your words really rang true to me. And I started, we were sort of starting to speak before in the green room back there about how I came to this in the first place, because I also got involved in some spirituality and realized some of the interconnectedness of the world. And when I started seeing videos of what was happening to our animal friends, I just said, this is so unacceptable, so heartbreaking, but also completely unacceptable. Mm-hmm. And when I gave the news to my husband, he wasn't thrilled, but he said, make it taste delicious and I'll try and get on board with you. So I started a vegan food blog for a while. And it was for this endeavor. It was for that endeavor that I cooked up my first vegan corned beef, which I thought in earnest I was just going to share on my website, on the food blog. And then folks started saying to me that this is the most delicious, even meat item that they'd ever had. Many folks who were not vegan, not vegetarian, nothing, said to me, this is exceptionally delicious. And so I sought out to try and create a business of it and got myself on Shark Tank and all this. Yeah.
So what was it like being on Shark Tank?
It was for sure the most exhilarating experience of my life. It wasn't actually as hard as I thought it was going to be. I came very prepared with all of my numbers and answers, and I had some good one-liners, and I knew I was coming with like the entire animal kingdom and a lot of beautiful people like yourselves, like kind of on my back there. So I felt like I was coming with like the right motivation, the right, love in me and wanting to do good with this business, in this world. So, when you have the right, consciousness, energy, and you want to like bring the right things, like even the biggest doors can like fly open for you.
Yeah. I was really touched when I heard Genesis Butler speak, when she got her Marvel Superhero Award. And she said that she was actually a shy person, but that she gets it together for the animals, because she feels like as much as hard as it is for her to speak and to want to talk to the masses, that she puts that aside and she says, as scared as I am to get on this stage and speak, just imagine how scared those animals are before the water. And I'm going to do this for them. I'm here for them. And I think that, when we go into sometimes we get our conscious, we get in our own way, we're in our own head. And even when we are trying to do good and our heart's in the right place, we still get in our own head. And when we put that aside and we realize, I'm here for the right reasons. My business is here for the right reasons. Everything I'm doing is because I want to do good. And when we just put that aside and say, I'm doing this for the planet. I'm doing this for the animals. I'm doing this for a higher collective consciousness. There's just no way to fail, even on Shark Tank.
I feel that. Thank you. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And coming from that, just knowing that, the animals and like the scaredness, that's actually the thing that like kills me the most. I feel like I'm willing to watch like any undercover investigation video. It's like a little bit of a dark part of my personality maybe, but I feel like if it's recorded once, it's happening millions of times. But the ones that like get me the most are where like the piglets are shivering in more than even actually getting like really hurt. So being in touch with that kind of fear and wanting to make good by them really does give wings to fly. And just, I feel like it's almost like a pass to like bringing on the goodness in this world.
And tell us about when we were backstage in the green room before we started your show, that our other guests here were inspired by that I've never seen, probably embarrassingly enough, but I'm not a cook. I am so not a cook. I'm a vegan for life, but I would probably do real well in all of your kitchens, just eating. I'll be a taste tester.
So that answers exactly why I stopped this vegan food blog that I'd created, countyourcolors.com, if for the cooks out there, because I said people don't want to go to the grocery store and head into aisles they don't know about and spend 12 minutes reading this, that label. Just give them the food, make it easy for them. So
and get it certified vegan so they know it's easy for them.
Exactly.
BeVeg.
Exactly. Get it certified vegan so there's no confusion. So when I first became vegan, I realized, there were a lot of lousy meals. And then ultimately the food got a little better and a little better. And then sometimes there were like extraordinarily delicious meals that came out of my kitchen. And with those, I said to my husband, I really want to share with everyday moms and busy people just how doable and delicious this can be, how this does not have to be such an elusive thing, because so many Americans know how to take a piece of chicken, put it in the oven and take it out 30 minutes later. This is the extent of our, culinary background for most Americans, which is why we see the obesity and all the madness and COVID and all of this. But for those of us who've learned how to cook from the produce and grains aisle, it's of course you can. There are 18,000 edible plants, fruits, seeds, nuts, vegetables. And so I wanted to show how doable it could be. And for this endeavor, I started coming up with a new recipe each week. And then I made this corned beef and I served it at a Hanukkah party. And friends, especially some hater vegan friends who thought I was taking my family on a crazy hippie crusade, said, "This is so good. I wouldn't have known it wasn't real meat. Make a business out of this." And I was introduced to some lovely folks who were on your show last week, Rabbit Hole Foods, and they let me rent out their little kitchen. That was my first commercial kitchen. And I started sharing it with the Jewish delis of Los Angeles, who said, "We need something like this. Our current Reuben sandwich is all vegetables." And so that turned into Whole Foods. We got the attention of Quiznos and Shark Tank. And anyway.
Are you in Quiznos now?
We're in 16 Denver Quiznos locations. It did so well in Quiznos that in Denver that there was going to be this big North American launch on April 15th. We were supposed to deliver 27,000 pounds, and everyone knows what was going on in March of this past year. So that's been halted a bit because of COVID, but it's been performing well, and there's just a lot of excitement around.
So, you're from Florida. I'm from Florida. Where can you get this in Florida? Have you entered or penetrated this market yet in any way that's major?
Yeah. We're in
probably Whole Foods. I'm sure you're in Whole Foods here, right?
We're just launching our first retail packs in September, which should hopefully bring us into Publix and Whole Foods there. We're in the Whole Foods that are here in the Los Angeles area, also Arizona and Southern Nevada as a grab and go sandwich. But for the retail packages, that's coming very imminently next month. But in South Florida, we're in Vegan Fine Foods, which is in Fort Lauderdale. And we're just now on the menu at Ben's Kosher Deli in West Boca Raton.
How fun.
Yeah.
We certified vegan at BeVeg Della Rosa Real Foods, which is the kosher grocery store that's based in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
Maybe they should carry it. I should connect you guys. You can have a kosher, you can carry in their grocery store. I want to ask, Paige is asking a question here, so I want to put it up here and let you guys answer. I'd like to ask Sersie and Gigi their biggest challenge in getting the word out. Go ahead, Gigi. You go first. I felt the breath.
Yeah. Okay.
Go first, Gigi.
Okay. Yeah. I would say the biggest challenge is just, I would say, making not just churches more aware, but also just people that attend church. So just individuals, because, a lot of times, while the pastors can be very influential, you can have, a few people that are, belong to a church really kind of create that groundswell within the church. And so one of the things that would really help us is, just to share our website, danielfasttohealthyliving.com, share, this video, this program with other people so that we can get more people to be aware of it and to sign up, because 4 days will give you just a taste or a sense of what the 30-day challenge would be like. And then, it really is a supportive environment. If people are concerned about, okay, well, am I going to get enough protein? Am I going to get all the nutrients I need? I mean, we're going to be able to help with all of that. So
how are you helping? Are you consulting? Are you giving recipes? What are you doing?
Yeah, the 30-day course is pretty comprehensive. It includes a full section with multiple lectures on plant-based nutrition. And so I get into macronutrients and micronutrients and food combinations and all of that, in addition to recipes and meal plans. So it's very practical from a plant-based nutrition perspective. And then we're integrating that with the devotional, the prayer, the scripture piece of it. So it can help people, kind of guide people through the whole process in a way that will not only help them to gain more confidence, but also help answer questions, that come up.
Okay, and here's a question. Sersie, will you tell us about your celery juice?
Yeah, I do juicing every so often, and I just mix it up. So I'm not necessarily an advocate for celery juice only, but I do a period where I'll just do celery juice, or then I'll just do some green juices. And it's just a way to kind of kickstart your body and just to rejuvenate, and so that's why I do that. Yeah. But to answer the other question, yeah, I think one of our biggest challenges really, like Gigi says, getting to the individual, but also for people just to reach out even to their churches and their leaders in the church. Because I think a lot of times people the leaders of the church may not know the needs. And I think when people start expressing that, hey, we are concerned about the environment, we are concerned about our health, and start talking to their pastors and directing them to the Daniel Fast to Healthy Living, we can help, because we're also going to be able to actually tailor the Daniel Fast for churches who want to actually do it as a congregation. And so we're going to kind of expand it a bit. But yeah.
How many churches do you guys have reached to?
Yeah.
Do you have a network of churches that you're currently communicating with, or are you starting more with your own church and expanding from there?
Yeah, we started with our own church, and then now we have a directory where we're kind of just plowing through it to kind of connect with each churches as we go from state to state. So our big vision would be, to really get on churches to get on board. And because what we do is if you allow a whole congregation to do it with support, then they get a lot of fellowship, and they also get the information and nutrition that they need to kind of bridge to healthy living. I think this is what we're trying to push, is that instead of just doing it for 30 days, this could actually be a bridge to a lifestyle that's sustainable long term. And that's our ultimate goal for this program, is that people will do it for sustainable change long term. Yeah.
I have a question. So a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you saw this show, but I had a show, and I see Gwenna Hunter chimed in. I don't know if she's still watching, but if she is, hi, Gwenna. But we had Gwenna, we had Jasmine Leva, we had John Lewis, Badass Vegan, we had John Sally, and we spoke in significant depth. And we had also the chef from Seasoned Vegan, Chef B, the restaurant in New York. And we spoke in significant depth about nutritional racism and how there's a divide, and that a lot of times people of color don't even realize that racism is running so systemically that it's also in our nutrition and the food we eat and the choices that we're given. Have you brought that to the attention of the church as an approach, not just for spirituality and the connection of the food on your plate, but also as a point of humanity, and to end racism and to stop supporting what's feeding racism, which is every dollar spent in purchasing the food that's funding racism and taking away slaughterhouse workers' rights, not to mention that too?
Yeah.
I
think they're all interconnected. And I think, go ahead, Gigi.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that that we kind of covered that topic actually in a podcast that Sersie had, myself and one of my contributors to my blog, which had to do with rations. The title of the blog was "Rations No More: Reclaiming Our Health After COVID-19." It was kind of a FUBU type article. And it approached it from the standpoint of acknowledging that there are societal injustices in terms of access to food, in terms of socioeconomics and the racism behind that. But it also had kind of an empowering message of taking control of our health. So when we go to the grocery store, what are we choosing to eat? Are we choosing food that's going to promote disease? Or are we choosing food that's going to promote health? And there's definitely an education gap, an awareness gap, but I think more is being done to kind of close that gap. In terms of spreading the word. There have been, a few documentaries. I think the one that you're referring to about they're trying to kill us is one that's coming out that I personally supported funding. And then there's another one that the Invisible Vegan that that came out a few years ago that really, I think, helps to shed light on kind of the true African diet, which is really largely a plant-based diet. And it wasn't until, coming, through slavery and eating, kind of as some would refer to it as low on the hog, just because it was, that was all, Black people could eat at the time, and they ate what they could eat. And, sadly, it just kind of perpetuated through the generations to where, historically it was the issue of survival, where people were living to be, in their mid 50s. Now it's an issue of longevity. And so, I think with some of the documentaries that have come out and are coming out, I think, people are becoming a lot more aware of food and its impact on not just health, but just socioeconomic status as well.
Yeah. We're running. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sersie.
I was going to say, and I think from the spiritual point of view, even when you talk about social justice in the church, it's always been a legacy that the church attacks social issues. So I think what it is allowing the churches to see that veganism isn't opposed to the church. It's not one or the other. The values actually intersect, because we are preaching, love your neighbor as you love yourself. We are preaching love, compassion. And if you think, what would Jesus do if he was here in the 21st century? It would align with the very same values of what the veganism, what we stand for, which is, the rights of the animal and the planet and the treatment and of workers and rights of people in general. And so I think the light bulb needs to connect with the church, that we're not opposed. It's not an opposing argument, but they're one and the same. And so it's just helping everyone connect those dots.
Mm-hmm. And along those lines, Jenny, I want to ask you, I went to a Jewish veg Passover in New York with Victoria Moran. Yes. And running along the lines of bringing faith to veganism and not, you're doing that by having your Mrs. Goldfarb's Unreal Deli. You're bringing Jewish food to faith. Have you done anything with the Jewish veg organizations, or are you doing anything to try
I spoke this past year at the Shemayim Va'aretz conference, and that was really a wonderful experience. There's one thing that rings a bell, which is, in Judaism, there are all these different blessings on foods, because, it's a wonderful thing to take a moment and to acknowledge that this doesn't come from Ralph's or Publix or Whole Foods. It came from the source above, and to have acknowledgement for half a second before you indulge. But what's interesting is that all of the foods that are vegan foods have their own blessing, and all of the foods that are like milk, meat, eggs, fish, they're under this separate umbrella called shea kol, which means like everything else. Like you don't make, like you would think, oh, you have this life of this cow, you're going to make a special blessing on this. No. It's like all the stuff we're not totally supposed to be eating. So I think Judaism gets that. And also with the kosher laws, there's a separation of milk and meat because it's understood that these are two very toxic things and they shouldn't be eaten together. At least let them be segregated. So a little point there.
I like how you said kosher law too, because, you know, I'm a lawyer here, and I think that our laws are these intended version of these higher laws, our man-made laws. And it is so important that we understand that our interpretation of these laws are sometimes flawed here on this planet because they're interpreted by us. But there are these religious laws, there are these biblical laws, there are these kosher laws, and our food is very integrated and culturally and religiously into all of our decisions. So I think that today, even though I didn't plan strategically to put you all together, I think it's a brilliant pod here of us because you're talking about bringing food and faith to church faith advocacy. And Jenny, what you're doing with Unreal Deli is you're taking Jewish food and bringing it to Jewish faith. I mean, I was, you know, born and raised vegan, and I was always the one at Passover dinner with the Seder plate with the lamb shank and the egg and all these things I couldn't eat, didn't even want to look at. And I think that there is an entire cultural overhaul to be had here with religion. And it's not a sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice to flavor. It's not a sacrifice to spirituality. If anything, when you try it, I think people will realize, wow, now I was missing out. Those vegans weren't missing out. I was missing out. So how do people find your good food if it's not in stores? They have to go online. They have to go to your website, or I know you're being carried also at GFTO now, right?
Yeah, we're at GFTO. Soon I think we'll be at veganessentials.com. Right now, today, you can get it at unrealdeli.com. In fact, we're going to be doing a sale today on our 5-pound box, which is normally $99. It's going to be $15 off if you type in 15 thanks at checkout as of like 15 minutes from now. 15 thanks, that's going to be our code. But if you check us out on social, we'll be posting that shortly. Just a little summer sale. And we're also at all Mendocino Farms locations. It's an incredible sandwich they make. And on August 19th, we're going to be at all Veggie Grill locations. And we're at a number of individual delis throughout the United States as well. At unrealdeli.com, you can check out our list of retailers and see how you can get yourself the most delicious deli sandwich on the planet.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you guys should make it part of the Daniel's challenge. For those that are afraid to give up meat, they could try this real meat-looking sandwich. Does it taste? I've never eaten meat. Does it really?
Yes, definitely.
It does. It tastes like meat.
We fool a lot of people into thinking it's real meat. Yeah. You know, if you held it like completely side by side, you may notice the difference in the sense that there isn't like fat veins and indications that you're dealing with like real animal flesh, which I think is a plus. But you may know the difference. But if you took a bite of a full-on sandwich, you would say this is damn delicious and may not know the difference.
Yeah. Do you guys agree with that?
I don't know that we've had it.
Yeah. I've been following Jen for a while, so yeah.
I think I think a lot of people have, I think a lot of people have tried your sandwich, Jenny. I don't know if you realize you're like a little celebrity. I remember when you came out on the news and my dad read you in some Israeli newspaper.
Yeah.
He lives in Miami, and he forwarded it to me, and he's like, oh, look at her. She's a nice Jewish girl, vegan like you. And and then, you know, then there you are on Shark Tank, and then the overlap with Jane and Rosanna from Rabbit Hole. And so, I'm excited of where you're headed. And everyone who's got these vegan businesses are, you know, I think we're living in times where veganism is going to take off and it's unlimited potential. So
it's already happening.
Super exciting time. Yeah. So do you just have this this one corned beef product, or are there other products that you want to talk about or bring up, or that are going to be
So on the website, we have both a regular, like a crumble of the corned beef, which is great for like a corned beef hash. And we have a taco meat, which is obviously great for any like Mexican type of application, but we're very imminently launching Unreal Roasted Turkey. And
that'll be exciting for Thanksgivings.
Totally. We're going to have
another American holiday here.
Right? And so it is far and away the most delicious, indistinguishable, and clean label of any plant-based turkey on the market. So we're very excited about that launch. I'm going to my production facility today to see how it's coming along, but we've locked it in R&D, and we will be releasing it to the masses in around 5 or 6 weeks.
That is so exciting. So it'll be here in time for Thanksgiving.
Totally in time for Thanksgiving, yep.
And Sersie and Gigi, I have a question here in the comments. They must have missed the beginning of the show. Will you please tell us why it's called the Daniel Challenge? I missed that. So Sersie, I think this one's for you.
Yeah, so the Daniel Challenge is called because it's actually, I gave my personal story in the beginning how I did the Daniel fast, but it's actually derived from the Bible. For many of you who know the story of Daniel, we've known him for the fear, in the fire and Daniel being in the den, but he's also known for standing against having to eat the king's diet without getting too deep. And so the king's diet was made up of meats and wines, and he knew that that didn't align with the food that God had for him to eat for his people. And so Daniel went out there and said, listen, if you let me eat the vegetables and the grains and all of that for 10 days, and if I'm not as fit as my peers, then I'll go ahead and eat the king's diet. And so what happened in that story is that they went 10 days eating the vegetables and the grains and the fruits, and everybody else ate the king's diet, which was the meats. And what happened after the 10 days is not only they were more stronger and more fit, but they were 10 times even wiser and everything like that. And so the church derived the fast from that story in the Bible as an act of resistance, right? And so they modified it to 30 days, and they're not eating the king's diet, which is the meats and the cheeses and all those other things. And so it's modified today to kind of purify our diet to wholesome foods, which are grains, nuts, seeds, and things that are grown from the earth, as a way of cleansing, and fasting from those negative food.
Toxins.
So that's where it's derived from, and that's why it's called the Daniel fast. It's based on Daniel.
And then also the personal connection there of what happened with you as well. If you want to just briefly sum that up about the trauma in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for me, I had a personal experience where I lost a son. I had blood pressure during a pregnancy, and he had lost oxygen. So he was a child that needed medical care for about a year, and he passed away. And so because I was at this rock bottom stage of my life, emotionally, spiritually, in every sense of the word. And I did a Daniel fast, a 30-day challenge. And out of that, I was able to regain spiritual and emotional clarity, lose weight, reverse my high blood pressure. And so for that, it was a bridge to healthy living for me. And so now I feel like out of that pain, I have been given this purpose to teach others how they can use this fusing of faith and food to be a bridge to healthy living for themselves, and make all the faith and spirituality and the food that we eat.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, thank you. And I think it's wonderful that you guys are really stepping up and taking on these causes that are just so important, because it's important to spread the message in the word, whether it's through a documentary like John Lewis is doing, They're Trying to Kill Us, or what Jasmine Leyva did, which is The Invisible Vegan, or what Gwenna Hunter is doing by starting Vegans for Black Lives Matter and a whole movement with that, or what Jenny's doing, which is trying and successfully bringing good vegan food into the Jewish culture, which is also not only for the Jewish culture, but a lot of people like that type of food. But it really brings that type of food into the culture that we don't want to give up, which is important. I know when I had on the show Jasmine Leyva from Invisible Vegan, and she was saying how some people in the Black community would say, well, if you're not going to eat those foods, it makes you less Black. And Seasoned Vegan, the restaurant in New York that has in Harlem, delicious food that if you're Black and you're used to that culture, you realize you don't have to give up your culture, and it doesn't make you less Black or less Jewish or less of anything because you choose the vegan protein alternative. So I think this is a fabulous segment that came together today, because all three of you really have a common thread between farm to faith and faith-based advocacy through food.
Yeah.
And how that affects us spiritually, emotionally, physically, environmentally. And we are running out of time, so I want to give you a second for final thoughts. Jenny, I know you have a hard out, so I'll let you go first. I'm going to put you up here, and your food. Yes, here, I want everyone to see your delicious corned beef, Unreal corned beef, where they can get it. This is what it looks like. It's certified vegan by BeVeg, the only accredited vegan trademark in the world under ISO 17065, which is super important. For those that don't know, veganism is not defined legally in any one jurisdiction. So to have a standard out there that's accredited and internationally recognized means that the industry is starting to take vegan claims seriously the way they would take kosher claims seriously, or organic claims, or gluten-free claims. Now manufacturers and facilities have to look at veganism and the chance for cross-contamination and the ingredients and the suppliers and the spec sheets with the same degree of seriousness as they do for other certification programs and food safety programs. So that's important. And congratulations for getting your certifications. We're so excited. We're so happy to have you, especially because you're such a delicious brand. And for me as a Jew, I mean, I'm excited to have this, your brand in our network. So any final thoughts? Everyone can get you online. What is it that you'd like to share to the world and on Jane Unchained?
Carissa, I'm so thrilled to have this opportunity to be here today and to be able to work with you with BeVeg. We also have gotten kosher certification, and we can definitely attest that it's equally rigorous and important to be able to make these claims, to make it clear to people that, you're kind of covering all these bases. I'm so happy for what you're putting into the world. Thank you. It's such a really important element. I wrote on my Facebook there, triple threat, gorgeous, vegan, and an attorney. So I'm just very happy to have you.
Well, you're a triple threat too. Gorgeous, entrepreneur, on Shark Tank, and have a delicious product that's going to probably be worth. Let me know when the IPO is, because I'd like to get in. No, I mean, seriously, like these kinds of products is what the world needs to know and be exposed to, way beyond the vegan platform, way beyond Jane Unchained, way beyond our vegan audience here. This is what everyone needs to try.
Yeah, we need to make it that it's healthy and that people don't even know the difference when they eat it, and just that there are just no sacrifices to going this way. So thank you for helping lead this mission.
Yeah. And let's follow up. I'm going to try to get you into the store in Fort Lauderdale that carries kosher. Yeah, great. We'll get you in there.
Thank you so much. It's fun to meet you too, Sersie and Gigi.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, right. Jenny. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Sersie and Gigi, thank you so much for joining us as well. I want to give you the opportunity to have some final thoughts before we sign off. Everyone should go sign up for your 4-day challenge, sign up for your independent consulting services for vegan. I see you also offer those on your websites. I probably need that as a vegan that doesn't know how to cook or do anything. I still have my mom who takes care of me when it comes to vegan cooking since I was born and raised vegan. I always had my own vegan chef. But any final thoughts, Sersie?
Well, I just wanted to tell anyone that if you're someone that you're a spiritual person, you're faith-based, you're someone who even just wants to explore that area, and you're also somebody who wants to connect the dots with food and just your values and have them all align, then definitely sign up for the 4-day challenge. It's a great way to just kind of jump in. Sometimes you have to just jump in and get that full experience to really understand how the difference is when you're eating a certain way and when you're not eating a certain way, and when you're actually having that clear mind to pray and to meditate and to infuse those things. So it's a great opportunity to really just dive in and really get a taste what all that can have for you. So I encourage you guys to please sign up, reach out to us, and we're here to talk about this topic. It's our passion. We want to change lives, and we want to allow people to realize that your faith can actually be an anchor to other areas beyond what you can imagine, and taking care of yourself, your planet, and the animals is part of the alignment.
Mm-hmm. Gigi?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add, and Sersie did a great job kind of summing up what I was thinking, but if you're the kind of person who's been praying for better health, or you're praying for kind of figuring out what your purpose is, definitely sign up. And truthfully, I mean, even if you're already vegan, maybe you're not eating the healthiest vegan foods and you want to kind of reset, please join us. So danielfastahealthyliving.com. You can sign up for the 4-day challenge and get on our list, and we'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm. And I also think that with what you're saying along the lines that came to me, sometimes I feel like I download information, but I think you are most powerful in your prayer when you are plant-based, because you will be pure of thought and mind and heart. Especially you will be more pure when your intention is pure in putting what you're putting inside of you, because energy is food. And when you pray over food, you change the energy of the food. And when you think about what you're putting in your system, then the energy of what's going into your system is more pure. So I think that that's powerful, that you are more powerful in your prayer when you are plant-based. That came to me during this show, and I think it's something powerful to leave with for everyone to think about. If you're not plant-based, but you believe in prayer, and you believe in meditation, and you believe in finding your purpose, and you believe in having a passion, and you believe in making that passion your profession, then you should consider going plant-based so you can be powerful in your prayer too. And we need powerful prayer as a planet, a lot of peace here. We need powerful prayer as a planet to elevate our consciousness on a planetary level. So it's not only about ourselves, it's not only about the environment, it's not only about the animals, it's not only about the spirituality of ourselves, it is about a planetary consciousness that needs to be raised. And we must pray for our planet, and we will be more powerful in that prayer if we are plant-based. So with that, I think that's a valuable final note. Sign up for the Daniel Challenge, and I'm not sure what happened to the banner at the end, but let's end on that note, guys. So thank you so much for joining us. Everyone should sign up, find you guys online. Where can they find you, Sersie? Tell us, where can we find you? Sersie.
You can find me at Facebook, The Faithful Vegan, and you can find me on Instagram at thefaithful.vegan.
And Gigi, where can everyone find you?
At mytrueself.com or on Instagram at GigiMyTrueSelf.
So, all right, everybody. Hope you got that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us, and see you all next week. Same time, same place on The Laws That Matter. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carissa.